Welcome back to another Mr. AutoIt tutorial. Up until now, we have not used string variables or any kind of variables in our scripts. In this AutoIt tutorial, we will cover what a variable is, how to use them, and what are some of the best coding practices for using string variables in AutoIt. In this tutorial, we will focus mainly on string variables, but in later tutorials we will cover adding other types of variables. So let's get started. What is a variable? A variable, in the simplest of terms, just stores data that we want to use within our program. The best way to understand how a variable works is to see it in action. So let's start by making a very simple message box like we have in previous AutoIt tutorials. Now look at the message box we just made. As you can see, the text parameter of the message box is "Do you like AutoIt?" and it's in double quotation marks. What this is telling our AutoIt script is that text within the quotation marks is what is called a string. A string is nothing more than a sequence of characters, for example, a sentence, a name, or an address. Strings can contain special characters like line feeds and tab characters, but for now we will keep it simple and make a string variable out of "Do you like AutoIt?" Do that by adding this line of code above the message box function. On the new line, we started by adding the $ symbol. All variables, no matter what their type, always start with a $ prefix. After the $ prefix, we added a lowercase g and an underscore. The g tells us as programmers that this is a global variable. Later, we will delve deeper into what that means. But for now, all you need to know is that this variable we are creating can be used anywhere within our script. The lowercase s tells us that we are making a string variable. We then added a short description that helps describe what the variable is. In this example, we called it MSG box text. Notice how we capitalize the M, the B, and the T. While AutoIt variables are not case sensitive, it is considered bad coding practice to not capitalize the first letter of a word in a variable. You also want to capitalize the first letter of any new words in a variable name. In this case, the B in box and the T in text. This might seem a bit cryptic at first, but as you advance, you will see that describing variables like this will make it easier for you to understand what a piece of code should be doing, even if you didn't write the code yourself. The equal sign tells the script that the variable equals "Do you like AutoIt?" We put the "Do you like AutoIt?" string within double quotation marks just like in the message box so that the script knows that it is a string. Let's go ahead and recap on what we just did to make sure you understand what's going on. We use the $sign prefix to let the script know we are making a variable. We added a lowercase g and an underscore so you know that it is a global variable. Then we added a lowercase s so we know that it is a string variable. We then described the variable using something that makes sense, and we were careful to follow good coding practices by only capitalizing the first word of each describing word. We finished the line off by telling the script that the variable equals "Do you like AutoIt?" and made sure to put it within double quotation marks so that the script knows that it is a string. Next, we need to do something with our variable. As you may have guessed, we are going to use the variable within our message box. We do that by replacing the text title with the variable we just made, like so. Let's go ahead and test what we have just made to see if it works. We now have a message box that has a dynamic text parameter. All that means is that if we change the value of our variable, then the message box will display that change as well. Now, let's make the code a little more interesting. Let's add a second message box that displays a different message depending on what button the user clicks on within the first message box. Start by adding an if-then statement like this. Notice how if the return value of the first message box is 6, then our string variable gets set to "Great, I love AutoIt too." You may remember from the previous tutorial that if the user clicks the Yes button, then the message box function will return a 6. If the user clicks on the No button, then the string variable will get set to "That's too bad. I really like AutoIt." Finally, we need to add a second message box function that displays the right results, like so. When you run the script now, the second message box will change its message depending on whether or not you click the Yes button or the No button. You have now learned the basics of using string variables in AutoIt. In the next tutorial, you will learn even more ways of using variables to make more powerful and dynamic scripts.